Awesome, because you have found your way to From Dirt We Grow. I am Stephanie Kendall, and I am happy to have you here where you get the truth and the deep dives into the real issues that it will take to make real changes. I would like to thank you in advance for your support, your likes, your shares, your subs. And if you have not done so already, please go ahead and hit that sub button right about now. I absolutely appreciate you for that. And as always, make good use of that comment section. I would love to hear from you guys. All right, a few weeks ago, I hit on a few of the hypocrisies and lies straight from the official website of the White House. So in this and some of the upcoming episodes, we'll expand on some of the points that I highlighted and dig a little deeper into just what the administration's words and actions really mean. Today, we're going to look closer at an executive order signed on April 28th of this year, named, wait for this, Strengthening and Unleashing America's Law Enforcement to Pursue Criminals and Protect Innocent Citizens. It's important to look at this order in particular because, especially now, law and order has been weaponized as a political slogan. How? Well, law and order is framed as protection, but it's applied selectively. It's used to rally support through promises of public safety, but actually, more often than not, targets specific groups disproportionately, such as minorities, immigrants, protesters, political opponents, while at the same time overlooking or excusing the similar or worse crimes committed by those aligned with them. So first things first, unleashing, really? I mean, that is not a word the average person would use when talking about protecting citizens. All right, it goes on to promise or provide increased pay and protections for police and greater punishments for crimes committed against police and so on. I want to say I see nothing about better security for citizens, protecting the rights of and equality for the citizens. I mean, honestly, it's no surprise his convenient lack of ensuring and enforcing the protection of citizens from the police is apparent. I mean, we all know what happens, whether it's due to the power-drunk police, rookie police that panic, bigotry-based bullshit, even lack of training or field experience. Cops do their share of dirt.
Watch your hands! Stop! Stop! Ma'am, stop! 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 I got her arm. She can go arrest. Arrest her right now. You're under arrest.
Yeah, so there's nothing here about improving the vetting for law enforcement officials, like so we don't have so many biased police out there, or training for or upping the standards set by our law officials. What I do see training for, however, is for the military and national security assets that he plans to have assist state and local law enforcement in their duties to bring a stop to criminal activity, which is just not their job. I mean, as far as for Homeland Security, their mission is to secure and manage our borders, secure cyberspace, the computer hacker realm, respond to natural disasters and other emergencies, and to enforce immigration laws. As far as for the U.S. military, their role is not to assist state and local police in apprehending criminals. In fact, in 1878 law, I hope I'm saying this right, the Posse Comitatus Act restricts the use of the federal military for civilian law enforcement purposes. The law was put in place partly to prevent the military from being used as a domestic police force. Local law enforcement agencies and specialized task force, such as like U.S. Marshals, FBI, ICE, they should be capable of performing their required duties without bringing in other entities that are tasked with completely separate missions. Now let's take a close look here at Section 5, which says holding state and local officials accountable for obstructing law enforcement officials in being able to do their jobs. Under subsection B is unlawfully engaging in discrimination or civil rights violations under the guise of DEI initiatives that restrict law enforcement activity or endanger citizens. How, I would love to know, on earth, anything pertaining to diversity, equity, or inclusion could endanger citizens' lives? Anybody? Give me some idea here. Throw me something. I just don't understand. This is complete and utter authoritarianism. All right, let's go back to these enhanced protections for the law. Remember, law enforcement officials are humans, part of the society, just like everybody else. They are not above or better than anybody else. That said, when police break the law, they should not get a pass just because they wear a badge. They took an oath to do their job, which consists of maintaining public order, enforcing laws, and responding to emergencies. So if the police actually just stuck to their jobs and did their jobs and upheld that oath that they took upon becoming a police officer, there wouldn't be a need for qualified immunity. There wouldn't be a need for these enhanced police protections. The tensions and mistrust between society and the police come from both sides. However, if the police didn't give society a reason to not trust them, then it wouldn't be there. They've given us plenty of reasons not to trust them. And unfortunately, it's not all police, but it's enough that it makes a difference. It's enough that it causes this tension between law enforcement and society. And it's not just the actions of the police. It's at every level. The judges, the sheriffs, there's corruption in every facet. The abuse of power. And it gives them a level of superiority and immunity from repercussions for breaking laws simply because they work within the system. The discord between civilians and law enforcement will only increase with not only the way ICE and other entities are carrying out their orders now, but by furthering the unbalance of the two sides through the obvious favoring of one side over the other, as this executive order spells out. Also, if the answer to ending or preventing crime was more police presence or authority, we'd be the safest country in the world right now. I mean, it's been done. With Nixon in the 70s and the war on drugs, with Clinton's crime bill in 1994 and the mass incarceration spike, and with the post 9/11 Patriot Act, which was an increase on surveillance, which is more control, more power, more presence. It's not going to solve crime. What's going to help the most is to address the root problems. Due to the many, many broken systems that have been in place for so long that we continue to stick with because they have become the norm, there are a plethora of underlying issues that cause a huge chunk of the crimes that are committed. These are all the systems that this show has been highlighting and touching on since its inception. All the mistakes we as a people have made and the lack of knowledge that we've had, the education, including like science and forensics, that we lacked for so long. The lack of human decency, the loving thy neighbor has long been overshadowed by the greed and power and self-serving attitudes that people have gained. I could keep going down that path and expanding on that point much further, but getting back to this point of the oftentimes catalytic cracks in the very foundation of our nation that cause a majority of criminal acts, which can be attributed to poverty, inequality, and lack of opportunity through systemic policies that trap entire communities in cycles of survival rather than providing pathways to stability, dignity, and growth. And until these root causes are addressed, pouring more resources into policing becomes no more effective than a doctor prescribing a patient medication on top of medication to serve the pharmaceutical companies rather than addressing the patient and the cause of the ailment. So making the pain manageable, band-aiding it, medicating, rather than addressing the core causes. Rather than acknowledging, owning up to, and learning from the mistakes that have been made thus far, we have been band-aiding them. And thus far, these measures have been mostly accepted as a form of addressing the issues stemming from our past mistakes and misdoings. That time is no more. The time has come where the cracks can't be filled in anymore. We have to break it all down and start over. It's falling apart around us, and this administration just wants to rewrite history rather than doing the work of facing head-on the consequences we are now having to deal with. Nobody wants to face the music. I have yet to find a broken system that doesn't lead back to the almighty dollar and the power of greed. Everything, I promise you, leads back to money. So let's follow the money trail. Who will benefit from enhanced policing rather than enhancing the lives of American citizens? Well, let's start at the source. Police unions. It will grant more political leverage. Of course, there are these ever-increasing popping up everywhere, private prison contractors. More funding, more contracts, more prisoners equals more money. Construction and security industries will benefit because they get more business when more prisons are built. When you reform people, when you fix problems so there's less crime, you have less prisoners, less money, less power. Every $1 billion spent on policing equals less funds for housing, education, and mental health, which is why these programs are the ones being cut. And what's getting more funding is the people that control us, the ICE, the law enforcement, the politicians, the ones in control, because they want to make sure that control stays with them. Construction, they're talking about law and order. For who? We need to be asking it right now because we might not get to ask it later. We need to be asking these questions now. So this is what I'm going to ask you to do. I'm going to ask you to do your research. Research your local police contracts, your county, the police contracts and prison funding. Who is funding the prisons? Where is that money going? Push for accountability measures because accountability is key and they hold us accountable for everything we do. Why are they not being held accountable? Why shouldn't they be accountable for their actions? They should be. So let's start small. Let's start with the little things that we can do in our own little communities and start somewhere. Because the more they take from us, the more they have to go around for their continued band-aiding of the real issues and self-serving missions that they're carrying out that have nothing to do with the people. I urge you to go ahead and try to start. Just to start with these small measures and see where it takes us. Share the content. Share this with everybody you know so the word gets out. We need to be doing our own due diligence because they're not looking out for us anymore. We need to look out for ourselves. And this is where we can start. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your shares. Thank you for your likes and your subscribes. Please stay tuned. Please subscribe so that you do not miss the next video. And I will see you there at From Dirt We Grow. Thank you so much.